Hey there, hi there, ho there, everybody out there in podcast land. It is time for Sports Frenzy 2.0's Super Bowl extravaganza episode. I am the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the conquistador, Dave Height.
Thank you for tuning in to our podcast here. We are taping this on the 9th of February 2022. This will hit the morning of the 10th, because as we always promise, we have our episodes out to you every Thursday.
Just sometimes it might be Thursday night because of scheduling conflicts, but you will always get it on Thursday.
That's what she said. Oh, man, a lot of us would have enjoyed just that promise of once a week. But anyway, ba-doom-ba. We didn't have football last week. Well, we had the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, guess what? Nobody cares.
Flag football. Just play flag football. And stay out of trouble, because we'll get to that later.
Yeah, Vegas, baby.
But Super Bowl 56. I've heard a lot of people discussing this, and I have to join in the chorus on this one. Dave, I don't know about you, but this just... Even though I think the game itself is going to be good, and I think it's a good matchup, it has had the least amount of excitement and buzz in a long, long time for any Super Bowl I can think of in recent memory.
I know, and what's sad is you have a Bengals team on the cusp of doing something they haven't been able to do.
And Joe Burrow, talked about that last
having
week.
The opportunity to put a Super Bowl championship along with his national championship
and a Heisman.
So there's a lot riding there. Part of it might be the letdown of the LA Rams at being in LA.
Because as you and I have talked about on this show ad nauseum throughout our first year, we don't believe the West Coast deserves or should get the attention they get from the networks, from ESPN, from the other major networks in terms of kissing their ass. And now, of course, they get the Super Bowl and they get their team in the Super Bowl. So I agree with you. That's gotta have some part to this.
Yeah, and there's not the Brady Belichick hatred factor.
Right, and there's no
going in.
East Coast team, so the East Coast is all mad.
Yeah, so they're not talking about it.
The Cowboys aren't in it, so they're all mad. And the Chiefs aren't in it, so they're all mad.
Suck it up, people. It's going to be a damn good game.
I really do think this will end up being a good game. But again, it just isn't generating the hype. And I'll tell you another reason why I think it's not generating as much hype as we've seen in the past for other Super Bowl matchups, is I acknowledge the fact that a lot of the reason that I watch the game is the commercials. And the commercials over the last 7 or 8 years have sucked balls.
Oh, they've been awful.
And I just have
horrible.
A bad feeling that it's going to happen again. And I think that's part of the reason why people are starting to go, it's Super Bowl. Yeah, I want to watch the game, but I'm not going to get wrapped up. And the halftime show, again, I'll go watch a dirty movie. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do something.
You know, I have not...
They canceled the Kitten Bowl, by the way, those bastards at Hallmark. So there is no Kitten Bowl to watch, Dave. So now what do I do?
Does Animal Planet still have the Puppy Bowl?
That I don't know. I would hope. There's some sanity left.
Where's the Lingerie Bowl? Is that still going?
Remember MTV was the most brilliant to put Beavis and Butthead on at halftime that one year?
Yeah.
That was great. Where are they
now?
We need you now, Beavis and Butthead. We need you now.
They're in training to get in shape for their new show.
Yeah, I know. Like Judge said that, yeah. They're out of shape. But again, on Paramount Plus.
Yeah. Blah.
We'll have more to talk about that kind of stuff on the weekend edition. Don't forget to check that out.
Yep.
As we review the smash hit series, Reacher from Amazon Prime.
Yep. Check us out. Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast. Breaker, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, and a big hearty welcome to Stitcher.
Look at that. I am so proud of him. He usually hates it when I do that, and he just knocked it out of the park and mentioned our great new partner, Stitcher.
Yep, you wanted that in, and I ran with it.
You wanted the best. You got the best.
So,
the hottest promo in the world from the Conquistador.
So, drop us a line. Tell us how we're doing.
Check out Facebook. NASCAR
Ask
picks
us
coming
questions.
soon.
Yes. So, but back to the Super Bowl halftime. I haven't watched a halftime show, and I can't tell you how long.
When they stopped playing rock and roll.
Hell, even some of those I kind of tuned out.
I think I watched Katy Perry because I want to see if maybe her boob would fall out like Janet Jackson.
There was that hope.
I wanted Nipplegate too. She's pretty.
Yeah.
Katy Perry's pretty. But again, as football fans, I think we're kind of excited about the matchup, the game itself. Will Matt Stafford complete this redemption tour? Will Joe Burrow
rise to the occasion?
When we get to our picks, I have something to say about Joe Burrow. The matchups are really intriguing. Here's my analysis. Since we decided we're going to blow the doors off of this, let's get the Super Bowl stuff out of the way. Then we'll get into the nasty headlines, the coaches, the assistant coaches. I look back at the first playoff game for the Bengals. I look back at the second playoff game for the Bengals, especially that second one against the Titans. And I see 9 sacks.
9.
And I am scared to death with what I saw at the end of that 49ers-Rams game when Aaron Donald said, screw this.
I'm taking over.
Yes, I am going to show you all that I am the best defensive player of the last 6 or 7 years.
You had been waiting to see that out of him throughout the playoffs. He had been a non-factor until the last quarter.
Yep. And you saw him on the sidelines.
Oh, he
yelling and screaming at his teammates, exhorting them, trying to get them fired up.
Being a true captain of the defense.
And I think he now realizes that he had the shot once, and it slipped through his fingers, slipped through the team's fingers. Now he's got Von Miller to help him out. He's got Jalen Ramsey out there to shut down Jamar Chase, which I think is another big factor.
Those 3 are huge impacts on that defense. And I don't see the Bengals offensive line being able to stop them.
No, I agree. Those are my main points for why I am going with the Rams. I think it'll still be a close game. Matthew Stafford probably will still make a mistake or two with his noodle arm. Like the interception that should have been against the 49ers that Tart dropped.
Yeah.
But again, Cooper Kupp is a glorified slot receiver. You don't have to throw the ball 50 yards down the field to him.
No,
he and Beckham both, if they run routes within 20 yards, Stafford can hit them.
They're great. Kupp is a great route runner all the time. Beckham can run a solid route if he keeps his head in the game for play after play. And he's actually shown he is in it this postseason.
Yep. The backfields are going to be intriguing because, of course, the Bengals are going to rely almost exclusively on Joe Mixon, whereas the Rams, it'll be interesting to see, do they stick with Cam Akers, who just came back a month ago, or do they give Sony Michel, who actually carried them through the end of the regular season, a decent amount of carries?
I would think you have to give it to Michel because he is the veteran. He's been there, done that with the Patriots. He knows what it takes. He's got solid hands. He knows how to protect the ball.
Yep. But again, this is also going to be a referendum on Sean McVay because, again, 2 times now, This is his second shot at a Super Bowl. He does not want to overmanage, overcoach.
No, and he doesn't want to try and be the smartest guy in the world in this game.
Right.
He's got to stick with what got him there. Don't get cute. Keep it basic. Do what you do best.
So, like I said, I take the Rams. Again, a close game. Maybe, I know the spread's right around 4.5 right now. I think that's pretty much dead on. I could see a 4-point game, a field goal game.
Yeah, easily.
So, who you got, Conquistador?
I'm taking the Rams.
All right.
I would love to see the Bengals, but I just don't know that offensive line is going to do Burrow any favors.
Yeah, so this is, of course, a game where the Bengals shooting for their first ever Super Bowl title, the Rams going for their second.
Yep.
So both of these teams are fairly hungry because it's been almost 2 decades since the Rams got that Lombardi trophy with Kurt Warner and
the greatest show on turf.
Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce. Yep. So the rest of the panel, we're still missing one pick, but again, our deadline is not here yet, a couple hours away. Sam, the elder statesman, agrees with us. He takes the Rams.
As does Nick.
The Big Blue W, the governor, who's already locked up our picks trophy for the year.
Yep.
And Aaron go with the Bengals. Now, here's what else I want to say about Joe Burrow. Who, do you and I agree, is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, quarterbacks of all time?
Dan Marino.
And even though it's a little bit later, a year or two later in his career, doesn't this career trajectory remind you very much of Dan Marino in a lot of ways?
There are some similarities in there.
And this is what I'm worried about. I'm worried about the hype is starting to build to a level, to a point where Burrow can't live up to it. Now, I'm not saying that's going to affect his performance, but slow the roll here. If they don't win,
it's not the end of the world for his career to be a stellar quarterback.
But does he turn into Dan Marino and never, ever get the chance to get back again?
That's the fickle fate.
The fickle finger of fate.
Yep. One time, Marino had a team around him.
Because we all thought Marino would be back again and again.
They never had a running game. They never again had that solid defense. And the receiving core took a hit.
So we'll see.
And
that just popped into my head.
Yeah, the Dolphins did not get back because they did not have a balanced offense.
It just popped into my head that it was very interesting in many ways how similar the hype for Marino compares now to the hype for Burrow. And I don't want them to overwhelm the kid. And Burrow looks like he can handle it. But Marino did too. And Marino did. Marino
he handled everything.
Unbelievable numbers, but like you said, the defense wasn't quite right. The running game wasn't quite right. Now, he's got Joe Mixon, Burrow does. The defense could be, could be the problem. Because now, a couple years down the road, you're going to have to give Burrow $50 million. You're going to have to. And then Jamar Chase is going to want to get paid.
The money.
And T. Higgins is going to want to get paid. And Joe Mixon's going to want to get paid.
So you have to start playing musical pieces.
Ask the Chiefs about this. Because as we discussed here a week or two ago, the Chiefs are in trouble now. Because once that extension for Mahomes hits, you can say bye-bye to a lot of their players.
Yeah. Which salary cap manipulation, player replacement, nobody did it better than Belichick on that big run the Patriots had. How many times did they let people go because of money issues?
Oh, yeah. Yep. But again, he could afford to do that because he knew he would be able to mold younger players or bring in free agents that he thought would be able to fit into his system.
Right.
That's why he is the GOAT of coaches.
Exactly.
And I don't think Zach Taylor is the GOAT of coaches. I don't think Sean McVay is.
No.
Sean McVay already admitted this past week when they asked him about the last time he was in against Belichick. He admitted, I got outcoached completely and totally.
Yeah, he got schooled.
So it's going to be fun, kids. And of course, next week, be here for Sports Frenzy as we break down the aftermath, the commercials, everything. Not the halftime show. Not the halftime show.
Nope, we'll check out for that one. But shall we move on to the rest of the news?
Yep, we figured out the rest of the head coaching vacancies. They've all been filled in now. They've all been taken care of. And can I say that outside of the one that we just missed last week, which
Doug
was
Peterson
brilliant,
to Jacksonville?
Brilliant. Somehow Jacksonville turned shit into Shinola.
Yep.
And
they got a Super Bowl winning coach down there.
Now I've got to believe if Doug Peterson can't get Trevor Lawrence on the right path, then Trevor Lawrence ends up being one of the biggest busts of all time.
Yeah, because that's going to be his problem.
But now I think it's going to work. Urban Meyer just was a bad choice.
All around. It was a horrible decision to bring him in.
Right. Now you've got, as Dave said, Super Bowl caliber coach. By all accounts, a smart guy, a guy that any team outside of New England probably would have taken in a heartbeat. And he fell right into Shad Khan's lap. So
we'll see how that works out.
Now, the only issue there is, again, something we talked about previously. As talks collapsed with Byron Leftwich, Trent Baalke, the GM, is not well liked.
No, he is probably the number one problem with Jacksonville.
Right. So now Byron Leftwich goes back to the Buccaneers as offensive coordinator. Question is, of course, who will be the quarterback?
Yep. The big question down
there.
But
at least everything else is intact. So if they can swing for the fences again, pull off a big trade, bring in an Aaron Rodgers, bring in a Jimmy Garoppolo, they got to get somebody in there. So we shall see. But now the last two coaching vacancies, of course, the Vikings
have to wait.
Be announced until after the Super Bowl.
Speculation, it's going to be Rams offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell.
Right. But the last two, the Texans and the Saints, were both underwhelming and intriguing at the same time.
Yeah. Well, we didn't get to talk about Mike McDaniel for the Dolphins either.
True. That is true.
Another first-time head coach. The 8th first-time head coach for the Dolphins since the turn of the century.
And, of course, his hiring helps out the 49ers because
they get
he's
compensatory
technically a minority
picks.
hire.
Yep.
They get the compensatory picks. And I'm not the first person to say this, but Mike McDaniel looks like a dweeb. He just looks like a dweeb.
Be that as it may.
I hope for you and your team he's not.
There's
He looks like a younger Mark Trestman.
God, he does. Dr. Death too.
Yeah.
Dr. Death Jr. Yeah, for anybody out there, when Mark Trestman was head coach of the Bears, his nickname on sports talk radio was Dr. Death.
Yeah. For the 2 years we had to suffer through him. And even if you want to look at that as a failure, he still got us to the playoffs the first year.
I know.
That always seems to be the pattern. So watch, Matt Eberflus will get us into the playoffs. That's what happens every year. The first year you get that bump, that energy
bump, and then
it collapses.
Then we find out, do they know what the hell they're doing or not? Yeah. So we'll see. 49ers offense, if he can do what he did with Garoppolo, making him look halfway decent. If he can develop Fields, because Fields has a lot more
Not
talent.
Fields, Tua.
Or Tua, sorry.
You're still thinking
I'm still
of the Bears
thinking
and Dr.
Bears
Death.
and Dr. Death. So, no. If he can work with Tua, there is some semblance of hope.
The thing I'd be interested to see is can he, I don't know about Jalen Waddle in terms of what kind of speed he's got, turn him into the Deebo Samuel of the Dolphins? That would be intriguing.
That could be the guy who can come out and hit the slot.
Or even Devontae Parker, resuscitate his career.
Yeah. Do something exciting with that. Do the hybrid.
And, of course, working with George Kittle, maybe he takes Gesicki to the next level at tight end.
Yeah. There could be hope there. We'll see. We will see.
Cautiously pessimistic.
Yes, I am. Much like I am with the Bears and Eberflus.
Yeah, tell me about that. Oh, Lord.
So
now, the Texan situation, what the hell was that?
Bringing in the homeless-looking Lovie Smith. Lovie needs to shave that beard.
The Black Santa Claus.
That beard is so not a good look for him. God.
I know. A lot of people think it looks good, but it does make him look a lot older. I just think it makes him look like, I said, the Black Santa Claus.
Yeah.
And if you don't like my language, you better get used to it on this episode because it's going to get far, far worse.
Yeah. So
that's why we are politically incorrect.
Yep. So Lovey's on his third go as a head coach in the NFL.
One successful, one unsuccessful.
Yep.
So this will break the tie.
We'll see how it rolls out.
And unfortunately, Lovey's got nothing to work with. That's what I don't understand. Why fire David Culley promote Lovie Smith? Give David Culley $22 million to go away after 1 year.
Probably because Culley started back-talking the GM, saying, you're an idiot. You don't know what the hell you're doing. You haven't given me anything to work with. I mean, that's a dumpster fire down there with that roster.
And, of course, Brian Flores is taking credit for Lovey getting hired.
Yeah, because his lawsuit kept him from getting it and pushed the agenda.
Now, Josh McCown was rumored to get that job.
To be in the running.
So I think that's kind of what Flores was implying, is that McCown didn't get the job, Lovey did because of my lawsuit. So
who knows?
And that story is far from over.
Yeah, it's still going to be an ugly knockdown, drag out. Then Dennis Allen down at the Saints.
So basically,
another guy promoted from being a defensive coordinator with the team.
So basically, the Texans and the Saints both took the easy way out.
Right,
and just promoted from within. Now, of course, both experienced head coaches.
Yeah. Allen has not had such a great run with his time with the Raiders at 8-28.
I don't see this working for a long-term solution with Dennis Allen.
No, this is a temp job.
Yeah, Lovey could go either way. Again, he doesn't have anything to work with.
No,
but yeah, I think Dennis Allen's taking over a salary cap dumpster fire that Sean Payton left behind.
Sean Payton and their GM. They've screwed themselves for the foreseeable future.
They are so far over the cap, it's ridiculous.
And they've leveraged the future at least 6 years out already.
I still don't understand why they gave Taysom Hill that ridiculous extension.
That
they
was
did.
Absolutely stupid. For a
so think about it.
pony.
They are so far over the cap, yet they really aren't paying their quarterbacks much of nothing. So it's all everybody else. Michael Thomas, Mr. Worthless for the last 2 years at wide receiver.
Yeah.
The defense is good. Dennis Allen gets credit for that to a certain extent. But you're going to have to start cutting the fat.
You are.
Michael Thomas, bye-bye. Are you going to have room if you want to re-sign Jameis Winston?
Don't know. What are you going to do with Alvin Kamara? Our segue.
Now it's time to get fired up. Now it's
out
time.
Of the stupidity. Ugh. The more I hear about this, the worse the situation is.
Yep. Absolutely agree. The fact that
in Vegas.
The police let him play. They could have arrested him before the Pro Bowl, yet they consulted with the NFL.
And the NFL said, could you please hold off on arresting Alvin so he can play in the Pro Bowl? You can arrest him after the game. Bullshit. Shame on the NFL.
The incident happened 6:30 a.m. local time Saturday morning. Video, like Ray Rice, video showing Kamara and his boys, his posse,
keeping a guy from being on the elevator with them.
And because Kamara says the guy called one of his friends ugly, they decided to break his orbital bone, kick him multiple times.
Knock him unconscious.
Kamara, in the video,
repeatedly
8 times, punched the guy.
Inexcusable. It's shame on the NFL for bribing, obviously, the Vegas police into holding off on the arrest. Shame on the Vegas police for not doing their job appropriately and kowtowing to the NFL because, oh, they're the new golden goose in Vegas. It reeks to high hell of what you get from Goodell. Covering shit up.
We got a couple minutes left. I promised Dave. I didn't know where I was going to go with this. I was fired up earlier. I was mellow. Now I'm fired up again. So I'm going to rant and rave for a couple minutes, and then we'll wrap up the rest of our NFL talk in segment 2. The Who, of course, one of the greatest songs of all time. Won't get fooled again. Yet, I keep getting told I have to be tolerant. I cannot judge people by appearance. You can't do that. That's wrong. You have to judge people based on what you see from them in their actions and their character. And for the first couple years he was in the league, Alvin Kamara looked like a pretty decent stand-up kid. I saw the nose ring, and I was like,
I can't
See, now to me, that's a red flag. I'm sorry. Tattoos on the face, the nose ring, and again, you can hate me all you want for saying it, but I am a man who sticks by the numbers and empirical evidence. And when I see that shit, I cross the other side of the street. I'll admit it, I do. But I was willing to give Kamara the benefit of the doubt because he seemed like, in his first couple years in the league, a really decent, nice kid. Won't get fooled again. Won't get fooled again. I'm done. From now on, I go with my instinct. I go with the numbers, the statistics, the appearance, the looks, the tattoos, the facial piercings. The red flags go up the minute I see that from now on, because now Kamara has ruined it for me. I will not get burned again. I will not get fooled again. I don't know how you feel about this, but I'm done. I am done getting suckered in. The liberal media wants to tell me I have to be the nicest guy possible to everybody else out there, everybody who's different. Yet I keep getting burned time and time again when I do. Why am I supposed to get suckered in like this and believe in people when I see facial tattoos, facial piercings, and then they end up going out and doing shit like this and just prove to me that my preconceived notions are in fact correct?
Not everybody with that does this. You're just thinking of the most extreme cases.
I am saying that empirical evidence, we've talked about this. You and I are more likely to be serial killers, correct?
Yeah, especially
based on
me.
FBI profiles.
Because I have a shaved head and a goatee.
Right. You're not a serial killer as far as I know. Now, if the podcast keeps going south, maybe you'll end up killing me and burying me in Potter's Field somewhere.
Yeah, not going to happen.
All right, we're going to have to continue this in the next segment. We're running out of time here. Got some new promos this week, kids, so stay tuned. Enjoy. We'll be right back. Feeling mildly fatigued? Need a day off even if you just took one a few days ago? Make $30 million a year but just don't want to work for it? You need to join the NBA Load Management Club right now. When they're not napping or texting, guest lecturers Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving will describe foolproof ways to earn tens of thousands of dollars by not doing anything. Sports Frenzy 2.0, available on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, is currently negotiating with LeBron James to bring his popular How to Make the Hall of Fame Without Really Trying webinar live and in person to the Load Management Club. Thanks again to Sports Frenzy 2.0 and all you apathetic fans out there for making us a success.
All right, kids, welcome back. Segment 2 of Sports Frenzy 2.0 here on February 9th, 2022. This will drop the 10th. Continuing our discussion about the Pro Bowl and Alvin Kamara's horrific behavior. Inexcusable, but we've talked about it before. This is the shit you get when you go to Vegas. Sin City has lived up to its name. People go there, think they can get away with anything. This is a kid who never heard anything negative coming out of college. And like the maestro said, first few years, perfect behavior that no reports of any red flags. Here he's cutting loose in the most debaucherous city in the country. And that's what happens. How many issues have we had stemming out of Vegas?
Well, and this is why all the major sports leagues stayed away from Las Vegas for as long as they did. But the money just became too great. The legalized gambling started to creep into states to the point where, well, if we're going to have legalized gambling in Indiana, in Michigan and New Jersey, and now in New York, we might as well just open up Vegas.
Yep.
This is what you're going to get. Strip clubs everywhere, gambling everywhere.
Everything open 24/7. No good comes out of it.
I do have one other thought on this. And if I was running a football team, a basketball team, and I know this would be a no way would anybody sign with me in terms of players. But I would be, first and foremost, when I bring in somebody to either draft them or interview them as a free agent, I would say, what's your family situation and do you have an entourage? What do you do after a game is over? Do you go home to your wife and children or to your mom and your dad? Because we're still, in some instances, dealing with 22, 23-year-old
Or are you
kids.
out all night with your 40
with your
buddies?
Posse. And the minute I hear the word posse or entourage, I'm out. I'm out. I don't want to hear about you and your posse going out to strip clubs, to nightclubs, all hours of the night. Yes, you do have a right to go out and have fun. But you and I have talked about this over and over again on this show.
Nothing good happens after 1 a.m.
Not only that, but you have to almost look at it like going into the military. And I'm not trying to say anything bad about the military. What I'm saying is you have to have the mindset, the focus of, I'm here to do one thing. I have one job, one mission. In the military, obviously follow orders, do what your sergeant, your commander, your lieutenant tell you to do, and you follow through and do the mission. If I'm a 23-year-old, and I think like Joe Burrow we talked about, I think he gets it.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow gets it. And I'm not saying anything because of race, creed, or color.
No, there's a lot of players who get it.
A lot of African-American players, too, that get it.
And there's a lot of white players who don't have a freaking
You go
clue.
out there and you play your ass off. Be the best you can be, make all the money you can be from age 22 to age 35. And then once you're done, go crazy. Get arrested at a strip club when you're 40. Why jeopardize your career? Why jeopardize your future? Why be that stupid? Again, I don't want somebody like that on my team if that's the kind of mentality they have.
There you go.
Jeopardize tens of millions of dollars because you and your posse can't settle down and just go out and enjoy yourselves without beating somebody senseless.
Or getting in an accident or doing something
like
completely
we
dumb.
talked about with the Raiders players over the last 4 or 5 months. Getting drunk, driving 100 miles an hour, killing people that way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Frustrating.
All right, speaking of immaturity.
Social media immaturity?
Oh my God, social media is the bane of all existence. I'm telling you, Dave, you know this.
I know, that's why I'm not on Facebook.
And we're not on, that's why Sports Frenzy will not be on Twitter.
No. Although I did open up a Twitter account just so I could blast the White Sox when they hired Tony La Russa as their manager.
That's hardcore, dude.
And I haven't touched it since.
No, I know. I will attest to that. Dave is all off social media. I run our Facebook page for Sports Frenzy. I have my own personal page. That's it. No Twitter, no Instagram, no TikTok, none of that stuff. But again, this is the new age. Dave and I have turned into the get off my lawn guys.
Damn straight.
Especially when it comes to social media, because now Kyler Murray, it's amazing. A year and a half ago, Kyler Murray was on his way to winning the NFL MVP in his second year, and then things fell apart. And this year started off the same way.
Rolling right along, and then the wheels fell off again.
And he had a miserable game, probably his worst game as a pro against the Rams here in the playoffs this year. Now, I guess he's upset because he's not in line for a contract extension according to what he's hearing from the Cardinals. They want to wait and see.
Give it one more year.
Just like
they
the Browns
have him
are doing
under contract.
Just like the Browns are doing with Baker Mayfield, just like the Ravens could end up doing with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. You have not shown that you can finish a season. You backed into the playoffs.
Again, he should be looking at Joe Burrow. Again, Joe Burrow is the poster child for the Super Bowl this year. He's the focal point. He is showing you what you should be as a young quarterback. Justin Herbert, MVP of the Pro Bowl, offensive MVP.
Yep.
Again, showing you what you should be.
If you want, Kyler, if you want to know how to earn the $50 million contract, look at what Patrick Mahomes did.
Yeah.
To earn it. He stepped up and run roughshod. You have fallen off a cliff at the end of each season.
And of course, rumors are, well, he could fall back on baseball, go play for the Oakland A's.
Fine. If you're that much of a wuss and can't suck it up.
But of course, what we're referring to is Kyler Murray pulled all references to the Arizona Cardinals off of all of his social media accounts. Childish, immature, petty. But again,
time.
That seems to be the characteristic of most of the NFL players, most of professional athletes nowadays.
Yeah, it's all about, I got butt hurt, I'm going to go away. Poor me, where's my safe space?
Meanwhile, I heard people questioning Cliff Kingsbury and his commitment because, of course, these two are tied together.
Big time.
From college now to the pros. Cliff Kingsbury, have you seen his girlfriend? Oh my God, I wouldn't focus on Kyler Murray either. Woo! Oh my God. Cliff Kingsbury's got the most amazing house in the world. We saw that last year. And now this year we see his girlfriend. He might have the most amazing girlfriend in the world.
So how much is he paying her?
So he's like, hey, fire me. I don't care. Look at what I got. Now, of course, she might go away the minute he loses his job. So.
Yeah, but there's all that free money on the contract that's still there. as Mr. Cully is
Yes.
so enjoying right now.
Yep. All right, we do have to talk about the new coordinators that have been hired because there are a lot of big names. The Colts, of course, Matt Eberflus took over as the Bears head coach, so they bring in Gus Bradley as their new defensive coordinator. Not bad.
Nope, good replacement.
Patrick Graham decides he doesn't want to stick around with the Giants and Dayball, so he heads out and now will take over the Raiders defense for Josh McDaniels.
Very intriguing.
Anthony Lynn is now a San Francisco 49ers assistant head coach.
Yep.
The Steelers, of course, a big job with them is always going to be defensive coordinator because they are built. It's like the Bears. They're built on defense.
Defense is key.
So Keith Butler retired. Terrell Austin gets promoted. He will now be the face of the Steelers defense.
They kept it in-house.
Yep. This
Not
is the
a
one that
bad
kills
move.
me. This is the one that kills me because I reported a week or two ago that we had a shot. There was supposedly an Eberflus-Bisaccia connection. And I was thinking we were going to bring Bisaccia in to run the special teams for the Bears. Lo and fucking behold, he goes to the evil empire.
Fucking goddamn Green Bay motherfucking Packers.
You know what this tells me? In a karmic way, this tells me that means Aaron Rodgers is coming back, Devontae Adams is coming back,
and we're going to be mired in shit again.
We're going to get bent over and taken up the ass for another 3 or 4 years. Because now they fixed the one flaw they had. Again,
they still need a kicker, though.
True, I don't know how they still trust Mason Crosby. I do not understand that at all. And Bisaccia might be the one to say to them, "This guy sucks. I don't know why you keep him. Get him out of here." And he's got credibility now.
Yeah, regardless if Rodgers goes elsewhere or not.
Couple more notes on the Giants. Wink Martindale fired, which seemed a little odd to me. Fired by the Ravens. There was nothing you could do with that defense this year. There were so many injuries. Marlon Humphrey in the secondary out for the year for the better part of it.
That was a no-win situation with that defense.
So Wink Martindale goes bye-bye. He comes in for Ryan Daboll and will take over the defense as we mentioned, Patrick Graham leaves.
Yep.
And then finally, Joe Judge, who got booted as head coach by the Giants, comes running back to daddy. Mr. Belichick, sir, could you take me back on, please?
Could you give me an assistant coach position?
So now Joe Judge is back with the Patriots as an offensive assistant. So a lot of big names moving around in the coordinator positions. So, and I think a few of these names we better pay attention to down the road, a year or two from now, becoming head coaches.
Vikings picked up coordinator coming out of Denver, their defensive coordinator. Donatello.
Yep. But again, can't be official yet.
Right.
Can't be official yet.
Until after the Super Bowl.
Yep. All right. I think we pretty much beat the NFL to death like a dead horse. So you've got our Super Bowl picks. We'll break it down next week, and then we will break into tears because we'll have no professional football. Wait, the USFL.
USFL's coming, baby.
Come on, no professional football until September. But now NASCAR is starting up, kids. Next week will be our NASCAR preview episode as well as our Super Bowl recap.
Yep. So now we have to talk about the clash at the Coliseum. You know, I probably should have stayed home and watched all the heat races because by all accounts, they were exciting.
Yeah, that's what I told Dave. He and I were discussing this off mic before we started doing the podcast this week. And I watched all of it. I watched qualifying, I watched the heats, and I watched the clash. And I thought the heat races were a hell of a lot more interesting than the Clash.
Yeah. Congratulations to Joey Logano for winning it.
And for beating Kyle Busch.
Yeah.
Anybody who beats Kyle Busch is okie doke in my book.
Exactly. But the race itself sucked.
Boring as hell.
There was no excitement, no real bumping and banging. It was so damn generic.
But that's what was happening in the heat races,
which made it exciting.
They were wrecking each other because
that's what you want on a quarter-mile track. You have to move people out of the way to advance.
Right.
And in the Clash, they all pussed out.
Yep, they did. It was very, very boring as opposed to the heat races. Qualifying was interesting just because that was the first glimpse we got of the cars really running at full speed, even though it's only mid-60s, 64, 65 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Clash itself, to me, was a letdown. Now, the ratings were pretty good. The ratings for the Clash were the best since 2016, and they were better than all but 4 2021 Cup races.
Because it was something different. They wanted to see how they pulled it off.
And it was prime time, and it was on Fox. It wasn't relegated to FS1 or FS2.
Yeah. Now, that being said, it was a horrible production. Absolutely pandered and kiss ass to Los Angeles.
Oh, you didn't like the Ice Cube?
That wasn't bad.
For the love of God!
No, my problem was... they're celebrity grand marshals. Really? You're going to drag out Matt fucking Leinart as the greatest quarterback in USC history? You're going to trot out Reggie Bush.
Jeff Gordon.
You're trying to get your California connection. Too damn many grand marshals. It was a pathetic spectacle. I mean, come on. The driver introductions were so freaking lame. The way they're trying to introduce them and give them their little nicknames or whatever spout outs. That was absolutely horrendous. It was a joke in and of itself. I mean, the whole spectacle was a real stretch and a reach. They tried too damn hard.
The only thing I take out of the Clash that interests me going forward is Denny Hamlin and a couple other cars with mechanical issues early on with the next gen car. How is that going to translate to Daytona and translate into the next 3 or 4 races until they make adjustments?
Yeah. Yeah, because how many transaxles broke?
Couple. Yep, couple. So
we'll see.
Yep, and of course next week we'll include our Daytona 500 picks, the first contest of the 2022-2023 Frenzy Cup season, and the Penta Frenzy, and our entire
the new Sports Frenzy season of picks kicks off.
That is correct. Now, unfortunately, the way things are going, we might have to make an adjustment because Morningwood might not be one of those. Our baseball trophy
may not be in existence.
The Baseball Players Association rejected mediation. So now it definitely looks like pitchers and catchers will not report on time. And, of course, it looks like spring training will most likely be delayed. The funny offshoot of this, with the collective bargaining agreement expiring, is that steroid testing is no longer happening.
And notice how Major League Baseball did not make a big announcement about this. It was leaked by unnamed sources that this came to an end. After 20 years, this agreement ended along with the CBA.
And it'll be interesting to see, what if somebody now with this agreement ending decides to shoot up?
Yep, just to get
They're going to say, hey, well, I did it when it was okay.
Yeah, there was no testing going on. This is absolute
And the way baseball has gone, you could see the players figuring out a way to push this
manipulate
through and say, well, no, you can't penalize them because testing had ended.
a fucking loophole, which is, that pisses me off more than anything out of this right now.
Yeah, big time loophole.
Absolute horrendous. And shame on MLB and the Players Union for not saying anything or making any comments about it. Manfred is the absolute fucking worst.
Yeah. We never thought we would get worse than Bud Selig.
We did.
We did. Now, of course, we don't get to revel in the glory. We've talked about this for months and months. If there was baseball, we wouldn't have to deal with Joe West.
I know.
Officially retired now.
Thank God he retired from umpiring.
He announced it last year, but now it's official.
It's official. And as a friend of the family said, umpiring, it's loosely what Joe West did.
Yeah. He was such an egotist. All he cared about was drawing attention
to himself. Yeah, he was the biggest waste of space behind the plate. Thank God he's gone.
One last thing on baseball, but we have to get into this because this is where I have a big issue with sports.
Trevor Bauer.
This we could tie back into Alvin Kamara. Trevor Bauer will not be criminally charged for sexual assault by the authorities in California. Now, here's my question. He could be the biggest scumbag of all time. But if the cops, the sheriff's office, the police are not going to prosecute, they can't go forward because of lack of evidence, how the hell does Major League Baseball get to keep this guy dangling on a wire? Because they're going to perform their own investigation and they could still suspend him because they feel he did something wrong.
Yeah.
How does their authority override the actual legal system of the United States of America? I've never understood this. Never understood this. Never understood this. Because right now, Roger Goodell should be preparing paperwork to get rid of Alvin Kamara for at least 4 games, if not an entire season. Trevor Bauer, now he got paid.
He got paid. He didn't
because
get to
me,
play.
That's always an admission of, well, we can't really do this, but we're going to do it anyway.
We're going to suspend you, but you're still going to make your money.
And again, I am not defending Trevor Bauer.
No, the guy is a scumbag for what he did. Now,
innocent until proven guilty. I thought those were still the rules in this fucked up country we live in.
Yeah. Now, the only thing that was going for him on this is the text from the woman asking for him to do things. We don't know all the ins and outs. Did he take it too far? Possibly. But she put herself in that position as well. Now, what I want to know is there's the second woman from Ohio that's out there with the allegations that you have not heard the details on as much. So maybe there's something coming out of Ohio yet.
I still don't think an employer has the right to fire or punish an employee if the legal system says we're not prosecuting, we can't prove the charges. We don't have the evidence. It's bass backwards of getting what I expect from our country in 2022. It's bass backwards, so of course it makes sense to everybody but you and me.
Does he have a moral turpitude clause?
You just want to say moral turpitude.
I did. I wanted to go back to Porky's, damn it. It's all about Porky's.
God. We're not trying to make light of this.
No.
But come on. The thing is, you play by the rules. Like I said about Kamara, I am analytical. I look at statistics. I look at probabilities. And I look at the law. And I look at what's right and wrong by the law. And as much as we don't like it, sometimes the bad guys get off.
But
yeah. And if they do, then you can't really do anything about it, can you? Sorry,
unfortunately
it sucks.
not.
But Major League Baseball and the NFL's done this in the past too. They feel like they're above the law, where they can rain down punishment on somebody and destroy somebody's life, who are you to play God with people's lives when the authorities, the police, the FBI, whoever's involved, cannot make a case? I don't understand it, Dave. I just don't.
That's the screwed up world we live in.
All right, let's get back to sports here. We're going to wrap up a couple points, carry over a couple more until our final segment arrives. I have landmines planted in this week's segment, this week's episode of Dumbass or Not for Dave. So maybe he might actually call somebody a dumbass where I say, ha, I don't think they are. That being said, Auburn still number one in the AP poll in NCAA basketball. That'll change next week.
They got upset in overtime by Arkansas.
So next week, look at Gonzaga. Unless they stumble here over the next few days, look for Gonzaga to take over the number one spot. The NBA trade deadline is tomorrow. The Pacers are the notable team who seem to be blowing up their roster. And it's kind of a shame. I don't follow. We don't follow the NBA that much here on Sports Frenzy. But the Pacers had a couple really good players, and it just seems like they couldn't mesh. They couldn't play together.
There's no chemistry with who they had there.
So they send who I really like, Domantas Sabonis, out to Sacramento. They did get back two really good young players in Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield is one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA. Halliburton, a really young, good point guard. Then they got Karis LeVert, I believe, last year when the Nets, of course, were setting up their super team. Yeah. Who've lost 9 in a row, by the way. So Karis LeVert now is going to be one of those guys that seems like he's going to go from port to port to port. So now he gets sent off to Cleveland. The Cavaliers, surprising team. One of the biggest, if not the biggest, surprises of the year.
Outside of the Bulls?
I don't think the Bulls are that surprising, though. Considering
they were
all the guys
supposed to be
brought
better,
in.
But for them to be at the top of the East.
Well, Miami, I think, still up there. Bulls are close.
The Bulls are right there. They were expected to make the playoffs as one of the lower tiered teams. They've been playing their asses off and have been first or second in the East.
Yeah,
the season.
If they get completely healthy,
they need a big.
So we'll see. Next week we'll wrap up the NBA trade deadline transactions. Of course, everything seems to happen on Thursday, right after we post our episode.
Yep.
And of course, the last couple of weeks we waited and we got the scoop, and you guys still didn't listen. God damn it! All right. Good news for the Miami Hurricanes. Bad news for the crumbling Harbaugh dynasty up in Ann Arbor. Mario Cristobal poaches Michigan's Josh Gaddis, brings him in as the new offensive coordinator for the Miami Hurricanes. What, Kev? Who cares? Josh Gaddis was the top assistant coach in 2021, winning the Broyles Award. Feeling pretty good about my Canes for the 2022 season. Feeling really bad for Wolverine fans.
Not really. I mean, let's face it. Harbaugh has pretty much brought this upon himself.
Yes.
For flirting with taking the Minnesota gig, not being in Ann Arbor on National Signing Day, being in negotiations that fell apart because he wanted too much power. Michigan is not going to give him his money back for this. I would be surprised if he comes back after next season.
I think he's going to end up taking another pro job. Like you said, he was flirting with the Vikings. Now he's going to get a job that he's going to have to take in the NFL.
Yeah, because Michigan will not.
They won't be as good as Minnesota
back.
Because he, like you said, he's burned bridges there now. He has burned all his bridges. NHL, of course, they haven't been playing. They're on a break, but big retirement news today. Even I know this guy, and I don't even know hockey that well. Tuukka Rask retires.
Big time goalie.
Yep. And then
we had the NHL All-Star weekend.
I kind of look at that like the Pro Bowl, though.
Yeah, whoop-de-doo. The Metropolitan Division beat the Central Division in the final. Skills competition, nobody really cares, but the big stuff, fastest skater, Jordan Kyrou from the Blues. Hardest shot, Victor Hedman from the Lightning at 103.2 miles an hour. And then your accuracy was won by Sebastian Aho of the Hurricanes. They had some other ones, but those are the big ones that count.
Yep. So we've got a couple other miscellaneous things to. Oh wait, the Olympics. Yeah, we got to pick up.
We got a few
couple
Olympic
topics
tidbits
on the Olympics, and then of course, as promised, another glorious dumbass or not segment.
Stay tuned, kids.
Hey kids, ready for a blast of dairy goodness? Pick up Sports Frenzy 2.0 milk at your local grocery store. Remember, when you drink Sports Frenzy 2.0 milk, you're not only enjoying a healthy treat, you're helping to locate missing sports heroes of the past and present. Our cartons and jugs feature pictures of Peng Shui, Ryan Leaf, and Sammy Sosa as we do our part to find the lost icons of the last 30 years. And don't forget our special weekend edition chocolate milk containers, available on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, because they feature celebrities like Lindsay Lohan, Helen Hunt, and Jean-Claude Van Damme. Pick up a gallon today.
Hey kids, welcome back to Sports Frenzy 2.0, segment 3 here on February 9th, 2022. This will hit the 10th, Thursday morning. Time for the most irrelevant segment of this edition, the Olympics. I'm the Conquistador Dave Height.
I'm the Maestro Kevin Crane. Yes, of course, you kids by now, as we head towards our 1-year anniversary, here on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, and Stitcher. You should know by now that we don't really care that much about the NBA, and we definitely don't care about the Olympics. But there is never a controversy that we don't want to pounce on.
And we got a few of them for you, kids. The Olympics are always rife with issues.
Right. First off, the basics. The ratings are awful. Nobody's watching.
Not a big surprise.
Going back to the opening ceremony, record low, 16 million people, including streaming. That's the sad part. That's including streaming.
And is that worldwide or just in the U.S.?
Just U.S.
Oh, okay.
Couldn't compare to the other previous low, 20.1 million in 1988 with no internet, no streaming. And this 16 million, of course, did include streaming.
Yeah.
The big Peacock investment.
Yeah. Not good, kids. So, what, pray tell, do we have to talk about, you ask? How about controversy on the women's ski jump, where you had, I think it was 5 female athletes disqualified because their ski jump outfits were deemed too baggy, too much material giving them extra lift, which is a freaking joke because it was the same damn outfits that they had worn the previous day when they were approved. It's everything that they've worn throughout the pre-Olympic competitions that had been approved.
And nobody's talking about the fact that these skiers, they do not have the time to adjust from going from regular snow to what they've got over in China, which is man-made. Different texture, different feel. And I know a lot of you out there going, what are you talking about? These are fine-tuned athletes. I am not disparaging them.
Ski jumping is so technical.
It's like a NASCAR driver.
The minutia of this the technicality is so fine.
Right. It's going from dirt to asphalt on NASCAR. It's going from grass to artificial turf if you're a football player. There are differences. It does impact the performance. Now, of course, the Russians are cheating again.
No, say it ain't so.
I'm sorry, is it the Russian Olympic Committee?
Olympic Committee, yes.
That's what they're called this time because of the 2014 scandal where they took PEDs and got caught.
Right.
So now, technically, Russia's not competing.
No, it's
the Russian Olympic Committee.
Their female team skaters who won gold are under investigation because one of their samples tested positive for PEDs.
They had to hold off on the gold ceremony.
They're still waiting. We don't know what's going to come. They got to do the B sample. Are we really surprised from Russia? No.
And again, I am not trying to sound naive, but it amazes me, and we're going to get to the big controversy with the U.S.-born Chinese athlete here in a minute. But it just, I guess I'm so naive. I see my country crumbling apart with dissension and everybody fighting and arguing about we're a terrible country. No, we're not. We're a great country. And then you got Russia and China who are blatant cheaters, aggressive, warmongering, human rights violators. And
we're scum of the earth.
We're sitting here bitching and pissing and moaning because we didn't get the right sauce with our McNuggets in the drive-in. It boggles my mind.
Pathetic. Really.
Yeah.
The nitpicky bullshit that we are so concerned with. The me mentality that Americans have instead of the greater good for the country.
And the pride we had. We used to have pride in our Olympic team. Now it's all, why should we care?
Because it's all professionals.
The athletes don't even care.
They're all professionals now.
Right.
It's not the amateurs that you used to rally around.
The college basketball players.
College everybody. The people who didn't get paid to do this.
The Dream Team ruined it. The Dream Team was the benchmark for ruining the Olympics. As great of a moment as that was, it ruined the Olympics.
Yeah, every other country, most of the rest of the countries of the world had professionals competing. America had the amateurs, which rallied national pride when they were able to take down the pros. Now,
what good is it doing us? We finally got a gold medal here recently. We're not keeping up with the ROC.
No.
They're still kicking our ass.
Germany,
even though now, like you said,
Germany's leading everybody in gold. So there you go.
But the big controversy we're alluding to is in America, her name is Aileen Gu. But she's competing overseas in these Winter Olympics in China as Gu Ailing. Because we're talking about an athlete who was born in the U.S. She's a free skiing wonderkind. She's fantastic.
Yeah.
And yes, she smiles. She looks great. She's happy. She's not, we're not talking about the whole tennis player situation. Peng Shuai, where, we don't know if she's safe or not safe, or she's being manipulated or not.
We've had 2 American-born athletes competing for China. There was the figure skater, I can't think of her name right now, who fell twice in competition, took a spot away from somebody from China. And there was a lot of controversy why she was allowed instead of this other person. And the other person probably would have fared much better.
But again, I'm sure a lot of people didn't like my views on Alvin Kamara. Get ready for more maestro negativity, because I don't understand, and I can say this about a ton of different people coming in from a ton of different countries. She was born in the U.S., but because her mom and her grandmother, I believe, were Chinese born, they actually convinced her that, hey, China's great. You should actually compete for China. This is the stuff that, again, boggles my mind. People come here for a better life. People come here saying, I can do better in America. I can make more money in America. I won't be repressed
I can practice
in America.
what my beliefs in
And again,
America.
I'm not just singling her out, but she is part of a huge problem that I see.
There's
people coming across the southern border. They go to baseball games. They go to these, football games, and they hold up the Mexican flag. They hold up the Puerto Rican flag. They hold up the Cuban flag. If it's so great there, go back and live there. Oh, no, it's not. It's repressive. It's run like the military. You don't get free speech. You don't get your basic human rights. But you come here and you treat us like shit. You use us. And then you go back like Eileen Gu and you. I'm going to represent China. Then go live in China. If it's so goddamn great, go live in China. There's a big difference between early immigrants who came over from Italy, Irish immigrants, people who came from Spain, anywhere over in Europe. They came through Ellis Island. They did it legally. They did it the right way, and they appreciate America. Yes, there are Irish pubs, English pubs, but they still appreciate America. They don't spit on it and say, I'm coming over to use you for everything I can.
And then I'm going to go back and do
and
whatever.
Then act like the country I came from that treated me like crap is awesome. Again, another example of how stupid we are as a country right now. And this is a perfect example. If China is so great, go live there.
Yep. There you go.
Simple statement of fact. If China is so great and you want to represent them in the Olympics, go live there. Sorry.
Well spoken on that one. Now, you also have cheating and speed skating, the short track video, which the Olympics committee took down because of their copyrights. Somebody had posted a video that was quickly removed of a Chinese speed skater reaching out and moving one of the pylons around the track into the lead skater's skate, knocking her out of competition. Not being addressed to this point, but damn, they were fast to remove that video from all media platforms.
And we've seen a lot of hinky stuff already. I don't know if it was Sweden or Norway, maybe Norway, early on in the Olympics. One of their reporters got pulled off camera by Chinese authorities.
Yeah.
While he was on live with somebody back in his home country. But China's great. China's awesome. Ask the NBA. Ask Eileen Gu. China's awesome.
Yeah, they aren't.
Yeah, when they come and kick our ass another 5 years because we're so weak and apathetic and we're a country of snowflakes, yeah, then we'll all be waving the Chinese flag whether we like it or not.
They're buying everything up, taking over financially.
Get off my lawn! Sorry, had to get that out.
Pry it from my cold, dead fingers.
Red Dawn! Red Dawn! God damn. Rest in peace, Patrick Swayze. Where are you when we need you?
Wolverines!
Finally.
Powers Booth.
Yes, of course, we're not going to acknowledge Chris Hemsworth in the remake. We go back to the original. See Thomas Howell.
Damn Skippy.
All right, one final media note before we move on and play Dumb Ass or Not. I did not watch it this year, but I have been intrigued with the idea, maybe on a not so elegant matchup on Monday Night Football, of watching the Manning cast.
I've flirted with it.
We've got plenty of opportunities now because the Manning cast has been renewed on ESPN2 through 2024.
There you go.
So, when we get a Lions Texans matchup, I might check out the Manning cast.
There you go. Now, unfortunately, the success of it has bred the stupidity at ESPN to give fucking Alex Rodriguez his own cast. The guy sucks in the booth. He's got no personality. What the hell are you thinking of doing this
Yeah,
for?
let's look at it this way. If it wasn't for Peyton Manning, you wouldn't be doing this with just Eli Manning.
No.
Look at it that way. You got to have charisma and personality like Peyton. He brings his brother up. Nobody's bringing A-Rod up.
Yeah, there's no way to have that done.
No.
It's impossible.
All right, so it is time for Sports Frenzy 2.0's favorite game show, the one that everybody loves, Red Foreman's Dumbass of the Week. Dave plays Dumbass or Not.
Full of landmines, as you say.
This week I have gone a little bit different with this. I've gone down a different path. I've taken a different route.
And it ain't the high road, kids.
I have on purpose picked some people that I don't think are dumbasses. Some people I think are dumbasses. It is up to Dave. Usually I pick ones that I always think are dumbasses, and then he shoots me down once in a while, saying, Kevin, once again, you're overreacting. They're not dumbasses. Now I've got some in here for sure I don't think are dumbasses. Let's see what Dave thinks.
Let us begin.
Number 1, UCLA's Mac Etienne. Arrested for assault. Didn't even play in the UCLA-Arizona basketball game last week. But he was arrested for assault because as he left the court, he spit on Arizona fans. And security was right there the second he did it to escort him out. Assault charges pressed.
Good. They
Dumbass
should
or
be.
not?
He's a dumbass. You can't spit on people. It shows a complete lack of self-control.
I agree. That was not a landmine. Oh, and by the way, as an aside, I've been thinking about the Sports Frenzy Plane of Doom, and I think we need to upgrade. I'm thinking we need to get to a 747. I think the 12-seater ain't going to work anymore. We're going to have to take all our vast resources here and get a 747 because I've got a lot of people.
What about a C-130 transport?
Because, yeah, the way things are going here.
A-30 Supermax.
Yeah. I'm not foreshadowing. I'm just saying. Well, maybe I am. Oh, yep. We're gonna have to hire a couple hot stewardesses for us, not for them.
As we sit and remote control it as a drone.
Yeah. All right. Our next dumbass or not, a multiple-time offender. Antonio Brown.
Oh, my God.
Of course, he who just bailed on the Buccaneers a month and a half ago, ripping off his pads, ripping off his jersey.
Skipping off to the locker room.
Yeah, saying that the reason the Buccaneers didn't beat the Rams and get to the Super Bowl is because of him not being there. Posted on Instagram this past week a $2 million invoice for a Super Bowl luxury suite. Now, I have a double dumbass question for you when it comes to this. Okay. Good for him. He's got the money.
Hey, he's got the money. Enjoy it.
Although rumors are there's somebody else involved with that.
Yeah, there's some new company or
a rap
some
star company or
entertainment
something.
type thing that he's getting involved with.
So, but number one, dumbass point. Why be such an arrogant asshole to post that on Instagram, to rub that in the faces of everybody? Oh, look, I've got $2 million to shell out.
Because he's a douchebag. It's not a dumbass move, it's douchebaggery.
So you're not going to say he's a dumbass?
No, he's just a douchebag on posting that he's doing this.
Okay. See, I'm not going to get into semantics. I say he's a dumbass. But now point two. If you're making a purchase for $2 million, okay, and you get your invoice for said purchase, do you not check the fine print? Do you not check every detail? Even have your lawyer run through it? Just $2 million.
If you're spending that much money, you better have somebody looking it over with a fine-tooth comb.
Okay. What year is it? What year is it, Dave?
It's 2022.
Invoice was dated February the 7th, 2021.
Oh my God. All right. He's a dumbass for not catching it, but the person who wrote it up is also a dumbass.
Yeah.
That's a double dipper right there.
If he caught it, got it corrected, that's fine. But he posted it on Instagram with the date 2021 on it.
Then that's a dumbass move right there.
Oh my God.
So he's a dumbass douchebag.
Do we need to make a new category for some of these people?
Maybe.
All right, this one just broke today. I have to get used to the fact that it's not the Redskins, it's not the Washington football team, it's Washington Commanders. Defensive tackle Jonathan Allen. Again, social media, the bane of our existence. Trying to have some fun with people out there on his Twitter account or whatever, Instagram, whatever it was. And this is a really common question to have fun with, to ask people, if you could have dinner with 3 people, living or dead, who would they be? So, Jonathan Allen says, my grandfather, Michael Jackson, and Hitler.
What? Is there any follow-up?
Yes, there is follow-up. He actually, even though he deleted the tweet or the Instagram post afterwards, he was saying, as he explained why he chose Hitler, he was trying to explain, I want to find out why he would be the way he was, why he did the things he did. Because Allen said to people asking him about that, he said, I'm assuming that the people I'm talking to have to answer any questions that I ask them truthfully. And I want to find out why Hitler behaved the way he did. Now, that part of it I agreed with.
I don't have a problem with that.
Because I'm all into that in terms of my daughter and I were having a similar conversation a week or two ago, talking about historical moments we would like to be witness to. And I said, I want to witness the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson. Because I want to know if that scumbag did it or not. Because it destroyed, in my opinion, our culture, and it's destroyed the U.S. for the last 30 years because of that situation.
That was a seminal moment.
And of course, a big mystery buff. I want to know what happened. And I kind of looked at it originally when he said this the same way. He wants to find out what is truly at the heart of pure evil. What really makes pure evil, so I can learn from it, I can stay away from it, I can teach other people. But then he kind of went on talking about, well, I'm a big military guy. I love military history, and I'd like to talk to him about military strategy.
No!
So he kind of,
Oh,
in a way, was okay until he did that to me.
know when to shut up, dumbass. It went too far.
Yeah, see, to me, maybe this is your douchebag classification because
Yeah.
because I can accept if he was trying to find out about the evil and how Hitler could be so terrible and awful. But then when he talks about military strategy, you could have talked to MacArthur, you could have talked to Patton. Why Hitler? Right?
Yeah. I mean, if you wanted to talk tactics with somebody from Nazi Germany,
Rommel?
You don't talk to Hitler, you talk to Rommel. The strategists. Not a psychopath.
Yeah. But of course, if you ask Whoopi Goldberg, she probably thinks he's great. She'd have him over for tea and crumpets.
Yeah.
All right, final one. But this is a multi-tiered, multi-layered one involving 3 different people.
My God, you're giving me a freaking essay?
A big media fight this week sprung up between Stephen A. Smith and Tiki Barber.
God.
Tiki
Two
Barber,
of my least favorite talking
and then, of course,
pundits.
I have to bring in Tiki Barber's broadcast partner, Brandon Tierney, because they do a show together, formerly on CBS Sports Network, now on WFAN in New York. So Tiki Barber, of course, what started things was he was trying to stick up for the Giants and the Mara family after all the accusations of the quote-unquote phony interviews that they supposedly gave to Brian Flores and how the implications were coming out that they were racist.
Yeah.
Giving the job supposedly ahead of time to Brian Daboll, but still interviewing Frazier and Flores. So Tiki Barber came out, and people outside of New York, he's loved in New York. I don't know about you, but I remember the fact there was a year when he was a little shit.
Yeah.
And really did nasty stuff to that organization.
Yeah, he was an asshole for that organization.
Right. So I don't look at him in glowing terms like the New York media does. Okay, so that being said, he's trying to defend his former employer. He's still trying to be something of a class act and defend them and say they're not racist. I know them. I'm a black man. They're not racist. And he has to, I don't blame him for saying this because Stephen A. Smith had come out and said he had questions about the Maras and maybe they were racist. So Tiki comes out and says, no, they're not. I'm telling Stephen A. Smith and everybody out there, they're not. So Stephen A. Smith has to go all nuclear, as he always does, because he is the most overrated jackass in sports media. He's like Alvin Kamara. He threatens people, and he acts like he's a big tough guy because he's got a posse. He acts like he's going to send people out, to put a horse's head in your bed like the mafia. So he goes off on Tiki Barber and says, let me tell you something, Tiki. You don't know who I know in the Giants organization. Don't threaten me because I know things about you that I could tell people that would make you look terrible. So this whole thing over the last couple days has been, here's the problem I've got. Brandon Tierney, who does the show with Tiki Barber, he's caught in the middle because supposedly he's great friends with Stephen A. Smith, but he's been doing a radio show with Tiki Barber for years and years. But Stephen A. Smith basically threatened Tiki Barber. Says, I've got stuff on you. I could expose it if I so choose. Don't you tell me who I know and who I don't know. Little shitty mid-50s. He's almost my age, and he's acting like he's a big, tough guy. I wish somebody would. He's getting the front row seat on the plane.
I was going to say,
Stephen A. Smith.
He gets the front row.
Strap his ass in on the front row.
I think he's a dumbass
but
anyway.
Then Brandon Tierney comes in. Supposedly, if it was you, if somebody disparaged you, I would be down. I would be like, don't you fuck with my buddy, my best friend, my brother from another mother, the Conquistador. And I would be defending you 6 ways to Sunday, twice on Tuesday. Brandon Tierney, another guy in radio who acts like he's so fucking tough. He's bald like you, but that being said.
Hey!
He would not stick up for Tiki. All he would say the next day on the radio was, I've got it handled. I've gotten a reply from Stephen A. Smith. It's all good. And then Tiki Barber, beyond the fact that Tierney shows he's got no balls, Tiki Barber has to say something so idiotic in response. He's trying to take the high road and say, I'm not going to get into this. Especially in this day and age, we don't need a black man threatening another black man. I wanted to say, so it's okay if he threatened a white man?
What?
So if he threatened a white man, that's okay. But you don't want black on black hate going on. I read that maybe the wrong way, but I think they're all three. Pussies, dumbasses, idiots.
Yeah, pretty much, because
you're on radio.
You
Stop
guys
acting like you're all tough guys. You sit in a chair for 4 hours and yap about sports outside of Tiki that you didn't
get
play.
Into this stupid shit. They're dumbasses for getting into this nitpicky, namby-pamby, petty feuds.
I know. All right, kids, we're done. Check out the weekend edition.
Drop us a line.
I'm the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the conquistador, Dave Height.
We will check you out next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.